Evening, ladies and gents. Welcome to another edition. What are we, episode 80,000 or something like that? Brought to you this evening by LRS Sports for all of your sporting attire in Australia. But Nick, welcome. You look a treat. Shane, always a picture, mate. Always a picture. But Nick, we'll bring you in first. Welcome to your favourite Wednesday spots. How you feeling, mate?
Thanks, Nathan. I'm feeling chipper. I'm wearing a bit of a... I'm not stealing Shane's thunder. I spoke that last week, but I'm wearing a little bit of an ode to one of the all-time great broadcasters, the great Rex Hunt, yibbida, a bit of a vest, but also commonly worn by general wankers in the Victorian area, the cut-offs look with it. I'm wearing a T-shirt, so it kind of defeats the purpose. If I can say good evening to you, Shane, and once everyone sees... if they're watching this,
here we go.
Yeah, can we?
Texan, the Lone Star. So I was trying to come up with a couple of fairly pithy reasons as to how I could talk about AFL football and drag in this absolute masterpiece that I have acquired from a nearby bric-a-brac shop. So the Texan Walker from our lovely establishment down there in Adelaide. This could be the end. This could be the last game of the Texan. He's rejuvenated somewhat and put a little bit of respectability into the season, but also there's Mason Cox. He's not from Texas, is he, Nick? Correct me here.
Mason is a Texan.
Is he? Oh, he's a Texan. Great.
100%.
So it could be a Texan for Texan swap over the off-season. Greg Popovich, long-term, very long-term coach of the San Antonio Spurs from the great state of Texas. Might also be on the way out. So there's lots going on. I'm just pretty excited about footy and about life.
To clarify, you're wearing that for Taylor Walker, not Mason Cox.
Both. The Texan Walker. Come on, Nick. Come on for the journey. That's fun here.
I'd say they've both been maligned this year, but I would say that Mason's actually got a brighter future than Taylor. But that's probably a whole topic amongst itself, Nathan.
Good.
Yeah, right. Been to Texas there, Shana?
Never.
You keen? Mate, I'll tell you what, the growth of this show, mate, that might be the Christmas party in 4 years' time. Should we? I don't want to go to Texas. Fuck that. Let's go somewhere else. But anyway, look, speaking of big events, Shano, mate, you delivered the goods a couple of weeks ago. We got an even more pivotal moment in the history of the show. One of our finest gentlemen that we know turned a sprightly birthday, had another candle added to the mix there on what day was it, Nicky? I know what date it was. I can't remember what day it was.
It was Monday. Yeah.
Monday, there it is. So, look, I won't bring you in yet. Shane, I believe you prepared something very special.
Oh, look, I hope it's special. And unsurprisingly, because I work at a very, very high level, there's a little bit of a riddle, a little bit of a connection here to some other current affair events. So out of the two of you, whoever picks it up is going to get a bit of a prize. And I've got a fresh little cold can here, which I'll flick through to the screen, and one of you can enjoy one of nature's great delights. So without further ado, here we go. An ode to Nick. I might cheer up here, but we'll see how we go. All right. Voluminous quantities of spirit within the decor of a great bloke, intertwined with social smarts and many a party trick. Choking down on one or several a Southern Coke, there's our friend and our hero, we call him Nick. Owning an extraordinary vocabulary with a healthy dose of care, rearing an excellent football IQ with a powerhouse breaking kick. Intellectual, talented, and qualities that are simply too rare, a mate to many, with very few crosses, many a tick. Precious friendships are powerful. They know how to find a way. Only very rarely do they have a chance to pick. I'm proud of your past, excited for your move close to the bay. Nudge your colleagues, pinch yourself. It's time to take a lick. That is the end of the ode, but this is the start of our Nicky boy.
Oh dear.
Glorious.
That's geez, usually when people do odes to me, there's no, I've got no words, Shane. It's not often that I'm speechless, but I'm speechless. And
I tell you what, Shane, you've got quite the delectable tongue there, mate. You have quite the way with words. You're very impressive. But
absolutely,
Nick, we'll how was your birthday, mate? It's a special day. I shot you a quick text, didn't give you the call. I was a bit disappointed at that, but how was it, mate?
No, it's the way of the world. No, it was they're just another day now, aren't they, really? So I went to work, actually celebrated the birthday the day before with the family because I had other engagements to attend to on Monday evening. So no, it's fantastic. I'm just disappointed that, I mean, your birthday and my birthday, Nathan, are very close to each other. We have to wait another 6 months to return the serve to our great friend there in Shane. But no, it was fantastic, and thanks to those people who passed on birthday wishes and those who didn't. Obviously, I know where you sit in my life, and I wasn't overly displeased you didn't contact me. It just means there's just a few more crossed off that Christmas list, Shane. You got to. Hi, I love hating people.
Oh, come on. Come on.
good.
So
No.
did you pick up the riddle? Did you pick up the message?
Well,
Really send it out to the viewers?
there was something about hair in there.
No. Anyway, there's 52 minutes. We'll get through it. I can give you a couple of hints throughout the episode.
Yeah,
Sorry,
please
guys.
do. Please
my,
do.
my PA just came side stage there. I just wasn't quite sure. I don't speak German, so I wasn't. So, lustig, mushtis. Sorry about that.
Worried about the ground conditions at the Gabba there, Nico?
Oh, no, that's now Nathan. When we get to talking about finals football, myself and Shane may have preloaded something to go with regarding the dewiness of the surface at the Gabba.
Yeah.
Very dewy.
This could go one of 8 ways, and I think we'll have a bit disappointing. So, in any case, gents, so we've got the grand final at this stage is penciled in for the Gabba, penciled in tentatively. So Adelaide are waiting with a bated breath, and the bookies are going nuts at the moment. But anyway, if the Gabba comes through with the goods, Shane, we had a conversation 11 minutes ago, 2 minutes before the show. What would you serve, right? So what is the quintessential 3-course meal when hosting interstate visitors that perhaps aren't really accustomed to the Queensland way, the Brisbane way, the concrete jungle of the Gabbatron, as Nicky J likes to point out?
Yep.
What would you put, or what would you have rather, as your quintessential 3-course meal when hosting interstate visitors for this year's grand final?
Yep. So I'm imagining these are some Victorian imports. They've spent a couple of weeks in ISO. They've had too much Uber Eats or whatever it is you receive in these towers, and now they're out. They're enjoying the sunshine, the spirit of the grand final to be. So I'm going to start with an entree, and it's got to be something from our gorgeous bay, Moreton Bay. It's definitely a bug, the Moreton Bay bug.
No, it's on my list, Shane. It's on my list.
Oh, is it?
Oh,
You go first with your main, then we'll go entree. So
This
Moreton
entree-
Bay bug, a
that's
little
your-
bit of butter on the barbecue.
that's your entree.
That's my entree.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, Nick.
Sorry. Well, I'm going to do a mix here. I'm going to tell you what you would usually have on a normal grand final day, and then the Queensland alternative. So, obviously, the normal grand final time's 2:30, 2:40. So when you wake up, your entree is really you cooked breakfast. You've got to get that lining there, don't you? So nice cooked break. You've got hash browns, we've got eggs, we've got bacon. You're going to overcook, and there's going to be a plethora of food there. But we're changing that. We're in Queensland with chocolate breaker.
Oh, I don't know, but all right.
Not Big M. Not Big M. It's chocolate breaker. It's
Yeah,
Queensland breaker.
Yeah, very true. It depends. It depends on what your beverage for the day is.
Yeah, but sometimes the chocolate breaker, there's you think when you buy it, and do yourself a favor, when you buy it off the shelf, everyone, take it and then have a look underneath at the excess chocolate down the bottom. When you give that a good tap at the bottom and then shake that right up, that's actually as good as a cooked breakfast, performing the same sort of role as a cooked brekkie. The chocky breaker for me at entree, replacing the cooked breakfast for a day grand final.
Lovely. I'm going. I watched it. Nicky J, I think you were there, brother. A lovely gentleman by the name of Ryan Keogh. This is back in the day. He hosted a grand final once.
2001.
2001, I believe
Brisbane
it was.
Essendon.
No, mate. It was actually 2005, I believe, because Sydney beat West Coast.
I was in Sydney then, so I wasn't.
Oh, okay,
sorry.
that's fine. And it was at his folks' house, bless him. And Mr. Keogh on the barbecue. So the entree for myself, the old sausage sanger, bit of fried onion, bit of barbecue sauce. There's my entree every day of the week.
Magnificent.
Very nice.
Take us to the mains, Shane.
Well, the main, I'm going to have to go somewhere west of the range into the vast cattle stations that we have out there, and we're going to slaughter many animals. We're going to have possibly
Jesus.
a Texan T-bone. We're going to have something rather dense, something that you can I don't know, like resembling handlebars from a motorbike. We're going to tear that to shreds, and there is not going to be an ounce of pink. It's going to be grey. It's going to be overcooked. It's going to be charcoal. It's going to be dry. But we'll mop it up with a bit of coleslaw and a bit of pasta salad, I reckon.
Well, I can smell it. I can get the smell. Well, I'll keep with the same theme. So usually for a normal grand final, we'll have the frankfurts, we'll have the sausage and bread that Nathan's having for his entree, but you got plenty of food. It's just all out there. It's like a smorgasbord. We've got sausage rolls, we've got party pies. It's that maybe even a bit of fairy bread as well sitting out there for the main spread. But we're in Queensland. We're in Queensland. So Shane's already said the Moreton Bay bug thing. And you're going to have your oysters, Kilpatrick. I've got a steak there as well because we've got many great steak restaurants up here in Queensland. And obviously, you've got to have the potato scallops on the side. Not cakes, potato scallops, as they say up here in Queensland.
Ooh.
Right.
Nathan, what are you dipping into for the main?
Well, we've cooked the barbecue as it is, so that's job done. Lovely sausage sandwich, bit of onion, ETA barbecue sauce.
Sausage sandwich. You're not in the UK anymore, my friend. It's not a sausage
sausage sanger there, gents.
Thank
nice
you.
little sausage sanger.
But I call it bunning sausage. Bunning sausage.
The bunning special coming at you. But the barbecue's still in use. I'm going to ignore it. I'm busy. I've got mates. I've got footy coming up. I'm excited. There's drinks flowing. I'm going to get in the blower a bit of Domino's pizza. Now,
yes.
This is for efficiency. Now we talk about efficiency. I don't want to involve myself in any sort of genuine cooking here because it's not my specialty. I'm gonna be honest with you. But I'm be calling Domino's Pizza. We're gonna order like probably 8 pizzas. They're going to be wildly late and severely dry.
And small.
And very petite pizzas. Shane.
We're into the desserts now. I want something that's going to create some absolute fireworks later on. So I'm going to promote there's going to be a variety of overripe bowen mangoes that people can pick up and just peel back and start to just hover into, particularly based on the fact we're into late October. So it's going to be quite warm. And I might have a little bit of pre-prepared sorbet, something like a bit of lime and lemon sorbet. So once you finish this and you've gorged yourself and you've drunk to excess, I want to see that mango fly. Big orange fireworks coming out of people's mouths.
Mouths, very good. Mouths, yes. Okay, well, I've gone with a similar fruity type of experience, but the regular experience would be Soko with lime or Captain Morgan's. That'd be my dessert. My dessert feel for a regular grand final, but this is not a regular grand final. We're at the Gabba. So we're going to channel what would a Queenslander serve to a guest to be patriotic about this state of Queensland where we're an hour behind and 25 years behind. We're serving Flo's recipe. Pumpkin scones is going to be the dessert of choice. Pumpkin scones. Just a little bit of jam on there, or maybe just a bit of butter, just you can see it just melting in there. It's got to be, it's the Bjelke Peterson special, and I'm confident that Nathan's going nowhere near pumpkin scones, so I've gone solid with that. What's the dessert you've got there, Nate?
I thought about bringing in a little bit of nostalgia. I realised I went far too way back. That'll do. So initially I went with Sunny Boys, but I've reined it in and I've gone Zupa Dupas. Zupa Dupas, a 40 pack. It's summer, it's hot. Zupa Dupas.
Great.
That's very good. And did pick up are they with the Big Bash Zupa Dupas? Are they? Is it the kids have the plastic Zupa Duper? I know the Zupa Dupers are an icy pole, but the kids aren't they the Zupa Duper bangers that make the noise? No.
I don't know.
That was a question.
Yeah.
A question without notice. There's the KFC Buckethead. I don't know. Sorry, I thought I'd go there. But yeah, interesting vibe, and maybe our loyal listeners can give us some feedback on the socials as to maybe they want to go with one person being the servery or take bits and pieces from all of us as to what they would like served on October 24 here in Queensland.
I like that. Give us a winner, ladies and gents. Give us a winner. So moving on. Actually, no, Shane, what's your dessert, mate? You said yours?
No, mango. Just
Yeah, that's right.
Mango. It's going to
that's right.
It's going to get ugly.
Yeah, no, I forgot about that. But anyway,
Shane.
so yeah, Shane, let's jump in the next one, mate. We are one round away from the finals journey.
Ooh.
So let's walk us through it, mate. How do you see this playing out? I know that Nick, you've got a little bit of a spreadsheet there, a little bit of a template. You've played with some numbers. You've gone through the analytics of all the teams and all the games, offense, defense, wayward kicking, umpires, shitty calls, who they prefer, who they don't. So you've spent a lot of hours on this, so I commend you for it. Shane, why don't you?
Let Shane open the batting here, please.
All right. Okay. So I'm going to say that my boys out the back there, the Saints, are going to win on Friday night. It's going to be an absolute. It's going to be a terrible spectacle, but I think they are playing better footy than Greater Western Sydney right now. Just. And we'll grapple through. It might be 32-31. It'll be an absolute treat. Doggies, Melbourne, and GWS are the three remaining sides to fill the spots. I see that the Doggies will prevail. I think they will make the 8. They'll finish 8. And so week 1, and this might be there might be a little bit of conjecture about how this is all going to line up, but we said that Port Adelaide, Brisbane, Richmond, Geelong, we're saying 3 and 4, and that's sort of they are at the moment. And then West Coast are going to be a standout 5th. They will play the Doggies week 1 in 8th, and Collingwood versus St Kilda potentially week 1 of the finals, 6th versus 7th. So I don't, just I guess to open up a little bit of query, do you see any of those sides from the bottom 4, the 5 through 8, do you see any of those teams competing for the flag this year?
Yes, I can. Well, I've done a bit of research here. I'm going to say yes, but I don't. I have for the first time in a few years the top 4 teams playing in the prelims.
Yep.
So I only have the top 4 playing in the preliminary final. So I've said yes to your question, but the answer is no.
The way this season's gone, mate. You can't rule any of them out. It would be at your peril. The Bulldogs won the premiership a handful of years ago.
Adelaide won it a couple of decades ago from 6th, wasn't it? 6th they finished, or 5th. The Doggies came from 7th. If I can just take it and run from here, I'm going to give you locations too, boys, so we can actually cut and paste this, and whatever happens this round, we'll see what'll happen. I think you'll have Port Adelaide playing Geelong in a qualifying final. That will be in Adelaide. Port Adelaide will host that one in Adelaide against the Cattery. West Coast will finish 5th. Collingwood won't finish 7th, Shane, so we won't be playing finals footy against each other. West Coast will play Collingwood. That's a 5v8. That'll be in Perth, and West Coast will prevail there, you'd think. St Kilda will play the Dogs. That'll be on the Gold Coast. So we're just keeping the Gabba fresh. St Kilda will play the Doggies. I think the Doggies will get the Saints there. Just think form. And the Doggies are a team in that bottom 4 that are playing the best footy out of those sides. And then Brisbane will play Richmond at the Gabba, and I think the Tigers will get them. So let's fast forward now. The next week, so it's only one game at the Gabba in the first week of the finals, boys, and you've got 3 states in play. So we're semi-normal, if that makes sense. That means really St Kilda and the Bulldogs is the only game that's being played out of the realm, so to say, if that makes sense. Are you still staying with me?
Yep.
Lovely. So then week 2 of the finals, we'll have the Cats playing the Eagles. Now that will be at the Gabba or on the Gold Coast. I'm going to say the Gold Coast because you keep the Gabba for Brisbane and the Bulldogs. Geelong and Brisbane should prevail there, which means you've got Port Adelaide playing Brisbane in a prelim in Adelaide, Richmond playing Geelong at the Gabba. Our grand final will be Port Adelaide and Richmond will go back to back. That's just, I'm going the early crow.
Yeah, you're not far off the mark there, mate. It was interesting. I had Geelong, beating Richmond, but to Richmond's credit, they got the job done. So I'm still big on Geelong, but Richmond, they do this every single year, mate. So they always come strong back end. So they're definitely the team to beat at this stage. Anyone got Port Adelaide making the grand final?
Yeah, I do. I think that if they can get a home final, if they can play that first final in Adelaide and win it, then I think that they can play the prelim at home as well. I'm not entirely sure of the rules, but if they get 2 games in Adelaide, they should. They've only lost 3 games for the year. But in saying all this, Collingwood play Port Adelaide. Collingwood just got a few players back, and we weren't convincing against the Gold Coast. But we play Port Adelaide knowing that we're safe, but knowing that if we lose, we're probably going to Perth. If we win, we're probably playing at the Gold Coast or the Gabba. So that's incentive, Shane, isn't it? Like, you don't want to be travelling to Perth, and the Gabba, the Gold Coast, it's all neutrals, but Perth is an out and out advantage for the West Coast Eagles.
Absolutely. And the fact is that the majority of teams have been in the SEQ hub now for the majority of the year. They're established. This is their home now. They've set up all the training facilities and all they're back into their routine, which is what the AFL players always demand. So them staying in the local network is going to be so important. So I agree with you on Port Adelaide, Nico. I think they'll go down there. The South Australian Premier will pull out all stops in order to give them possibly a couple of extra supporters. It'll be parochial, it'll be solid. So I can absolutely see Port Adelaide making the grand final, and I can see them copying an absolute hiding on the big day.
Mate, they'll cop a hiding before they make the grand final. I don't care if the Premier comes out and gives them a second team to run out with them. There is no way. There is 0% chance. Emphatically, Port Adelaide will not make the grand final. 2 years' time, that's a different story.
You've been big on this the whole way, Nathan. You think that it's what is it? It's a false position they're in.
Yeah, 100%. Now that they've overperformed, and that's to their credit. I'm not taking anything away from them. They're a great team. Kenny Hinkley's done some beautiful things with them, but they're just a couple of years off. And I think once they get to the big stage, I know they've got some quality players there that can probably steer the ship on paper, and they will. I just think they haven't got the support crew with them just yet. I could be wrong.
Some of the big name experts have said that they're lacking the grunt. That's the nice way of saying it. They're lacking that when it comes to winning a big final. I don't know. It's just so weird this year. Anything can happen. If Collingwood beat Port Adelaide next Monday, Collingwood finish 6th. My whole system is out the door. So, and if you count our tips, I'm going horrendously. So who knows what might happen? Port Adelaide may not finish on top, and I think that means who knows with the rules. Who knows? If they're playing in Adelaide, I like them.
Nick, I'll ask you this, mate. Would you be surprised if Collingwood come out and thrash them?
Yes, in a word, yes. Yes. I mean, the Pies are getting good players back, and I'm not sure how often you'll see Mason Cox take a bounce and then kick a goal on the run from 45. I'm not sure how often you'll see that. So that just shows you where 2020's at. It's just weird. But to go, he's kicked 9 in his last 2 games. I know we'll talk about Jordan in a different segment to come. He's hit 9 in the last 2 games. So he's just starting to hit his straps. Treloar's back. If he hits at 75% efficiency plus, he's a value. Pendlebury's breaking the record. The Pies could be, dare I say it, up and about for this one against Port, and it could knock them off their perch. And Port have been on top since about round 6, boys, round 7, and they could get knocked off. They could. So Collingwood.
They've been on top since round 1. I don't know if they've relinquished it the whole year.
They were on top in round one after round one, true, because there was that stat saying that teams in a year that ends in whatever, who are on top after round one win it. But wouldn't it be funny that if Collingwood beat them, Collingwood hand Brisbane the minor premiership? That's saying that Brisbane win this week. But, minor premierships are nothing, boys. So you don't, they're nothing. Is it the McIntyre trophy they still get for that?
I think it might be.
Yeah, so, but how many people,
McAllister? Was it for the McIntyre on late system?
I don't know what who knows what the trophy is, because no one knows what it is. You don't celebrate it. So, it'll be an interesting round. I know we'll look at tips later on, but there's still some shaping to do. But disappointing that. Well, it's not. I won't say disappointing that the top eight's settled in the sides. There's still some teams on the outside which can come in, which is always good. It's the NRL, our good rugby league friends, where no one can come into the top eight, and there's still 3 weeks to go in that competition. Is that right? Yeah. So there's a lot of dead rubbers happening there. So unfortunately for my good mate Peter Volandis, they're putting on a show to no one in the crowd, and probably a show to no one on the telly to watch that. So have a shit one.
There's a question, mate. I say this in jest, but how many trophies has the AFL got week in, week out for different teams playing each other? Do we know? I think last count was about 78, was it?
There's a lot. I know that just from a Collingwood perspective, there's a trophy against Carlton. There's obviously the trophy against Essendon for Anzac Day. There's the Bob Rose trophy against the Western Bulldogs. So there's 3 that we play. I don't think there's there's another one we play against Hawthorn now in some sort of charity arrangement. So there is, and then you look at the other ones, and there's Sydney and St Kilda play for something. St Kilda and Western Bulldogs play for something, Shane.
Yeah.
Gold Coast play against Brisbane for the Q Clash. There's a lot of, isn't there? That's
the Battle of the Bridge, the Derby, the Showdown.
The problem is, and as good intentioned as I'm sure each and every one of them was, and it highlights a very important individual or cause that obviously the two clubs share. The fact that they've saturated the season with 692 cups or trophies to play. So the problem now is that every time it's brought up, it falls on deaf ears. Every single week we're playing for one of these trophies in the round. So just food for thought. Thought I'd bring it up.
It's a great point. And it probably comes back to what we spoke about a couple of weeks ago when we spoke about all the social justice issues that they're playing for. I'm confident we spoke about that. It was on an agenda at one point, but that's where you go. It does start to become, you become a bit numb to it. And that's where I think they should just pick a couple of big ticket items and have a extended period of time where to bring focus to that. I know they do a brilliant job with the MND, the Neil Danaher, the Big Freeze, great stuff that happens there. But then it's one into the next, isn't it? So you're falling on deaf ears line is to the point, Nathan.
All right, well, let's move it on, gents. We brought up DeGoey a little bit earlier, and he's quite relevant for this next one. Sean, we'll get your thoughts first, mate. But it's very tough because if we're going to bring up court cases, AFL players involved with court cases, and I guess the ramifications of that. Are they expelled from the game whilst the investigations and cases ongoing, or do we allow them to play? Now, there's been quite a few contradicting cases, as it were, even just this year, but I think it's been a pretty consistent trend that we've seen. The higher caliber players get to play on, and some of the lower ranking players, they're going to sit this one out. And it's paraded around as protection of the game or brand or their own image, which in my humblest of opinions, which means absolutely nothing because I have zero context, is a crock of shit. Because if you're going to sit down a kid that's 20 odd, that's just on the fringe, and you're going to allow some of these higher echelon players to play, well, then all of a sudden your line of protecting the image of the game, it doesn't add up. So Shane, mate, we'll bring you in. Where are you at with this one? It's a very touchy subject, and we shouldn't take this too lightly. But of course, there is some contradictions here.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's certainly sensitive, but I think it needs to be explored, and it's being explored at the moment by all and sundry in the AFL hierarchy. I refer to our friends in the rubber league who commonly have allowed any player I mean any player with any past, any pending indiscretions to play their game. But 2018 into 2018, Jack DeBellum, the St. George player, was formally charged with an offence, and I apologise if I'm actually talking about things in a inaccurate manner when it comes to the court proceedings. I'm not too sure, but he hasn't played since then. The NRL have put their foot down and said that based on the charges imposed and based on the severity of it, my understanding is that the severity has to be a maximum penalty of 11 plus years in jail. That is their threshold for saying that is a serious crime. It's going to potentially harm the image of our game and all the things we talked about before, Nathan. So I think when we're talking about sexual assault, domestic violence, DeGoey and Elijah Taylor over there from the Swans, I think the AFL needs to step in and make some fairly firm calls on how these players should be treated. They can't prejudice the judicial system. That's not their job. That's the role of another jurisdiction altogether. But I think for the image of the game, they need to be quite cautious about how they treat these players. And I think having them on the sideline for a period of time, still integrating with their clubs, still involved in training, still got the mateship and all the social services allowed to them at these clubs. I think the AFL needs to step up and make some of these calls. And it mightn't necessarily be such a serious crime. It might be a crime with a far lesser maximum penalty, but they need to do something about it because there needs to be a very strong disincentive for these young men to be doing the wrong thing.
Nick, where do you sit with this one, mate? As I said, it's extremely sensitive and it is a little bit intense. We are quite jovial characters, but when you got some, discrepancies or lack of consistencies in such a massive figurehead's, approach to sensitive issues like this, it raises questions. I don't know about concerns, but it definitely raises some questions.
Oh, look, it's very sensitive. It's very sensitive, and I think we can all pass on opinions, and that's what we kind of do in this forum. But the reality is, in this country, aren't you innocent until proven guilty? And I think that, that's the really touchy point here, because in the young fella from St. George in the NRL's case, if he is found to be not guilty, he sat out 2 full seasons. I'm not sure if he's been stood down on full pay, but at the end of the day, the way that humans respond to this sort of stuff, he's going to be tarred with that forever. You saw Stephen Milne in the AFL, similar, and then a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend told me this, and then the police told me that type of stuff, and that's he wears that, as does his family. I know his young fella's almost of age now coming through the system, that he's copped that. It's a really, really, really tricky time, and probably the only reason why it is becoming very topical in the AFL now, and I want to sound like a typical Collingwood supporter here, is because it's a Collingwood player that's probably playing some good footy at the moment. Where you referred to Nathan before regarding the young fella from Sydney, he's already been stood down. He's already back in Perth, and then Sydney came out and announced that they'd stood him down. It doesn't really make a great deal of sense. You can't stand down a player who's been stood down already. So I'm confused by that language that the Swans used this week. Are Collingwood going to stand Jordan DeGoey down? Well, no. There's cultural problems at Collingwood over the years where there's been issues and mistakes and that type of stuff. But I don't know enough about the ins and outs of allegations and charges and things. But what I would say, as I said at the top, is that I'm of the belief that in this country, you are innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah, I think that's something that we all forget. It's. I don't want to go too much deeper on that one, mate. Shane, you got anything to add? Or
no, I think it's
Well, let's.
So I think it's excellent material there, Nick, and certainly a topic that needs to be talked about a bit more in the public forum, but hopefully there's a fairly strong position adopted by the AFL.
But can I add, Nate? I just do want to add this. But if a player is ever found guilty of this sort of stuff, it is not only is there a judicial consequence, I believe there should be a consequence in terms of bringing the game into disrepute and a consequence dealt in that regard as well. So obviously these guys have high profiles. They're getting paid an awful lot of money to just kick a lump of pigskin around. That there should be some absolutely suspensions served from the football side of things as well. But it all comes back to what we have probably spoken about at length in previous episodes here, is about educating these guys in all areas: respect, gambling, alcohol abuse, relationships, everything. Because most of these guys we're talking about have been plucked out of school, thrown under lights, given paid a lot of money. As I said, it's not something I want my son to be thrown into, and that's why we're looking at potentially draft ages changing, and COVID might provide us with that when some protocols and things come out in the next month or so. So it's really interesting times, but as we said, very touchy, and the feedback on the socials at the moment is that yes, we've gone very deep for what is a jovial up and about podcast. And if you're listening to this and not viewing it, to think that Shane's talking about this topic whilst wearing the hat that he is, it is quite comical. It is quite comical.
Let's crack on.
Hey man, so this is honestly, this is one of my favourite times of the year. The last round of the season, we've got coming to the final series. Everything's on the line. Everything's on the line. You've always got a handful of teams trying to battle it out for the last couple of spots inside the 8. A couple of teams usually battling it out for the last spot or two in the top 4. I love this time of year. So finals is coming up. So let's fast track this. Geelong have taken out the grand final. They've beaten Richmond. So Shane, take over, mate. Talk us through next year.
All right. Proudly brought to you by Hallowed Grounds Espresso. If you like coffee, go to Hallowed Grounds. They're excellent. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the 2021 season. The formation, the number of rounds, the hubs, the conference arrangement, which has been talked about so many times. So I want to throw a couple of ideas to you guys around how 2021 is going to look. Yes, it's dependent on a lot of things, but who cares? Let's dream, okay? So we're going to talk about the number of rounds. So at the moment, we've got 18 rounds, which allows for everyone to play each other once only and to have a nice little bye in there. There have been conversations thrown around about a potential 36-round season with much shorter games, but allow for potentially a home and away game against every other side in the league and a couple of byes thrown in there. There will be more festivals of footy, more frantic footy feasts and all these other things, which are just excellent and are destroying households across the land. Also, I want to talk to you about hubs. So the hub scenario has worked. So why are we going to be talking about a South East Queensland hub only? Are we going to be talking about Sydney hubs? Is every state going to host a hub? And also want to talk about the idea of conferences. So rather than having 36 games or 18 games where everyone plays each other once, we adopt a model like in the NBA or the majority of those American sports where we play in conferences. And that could be, geographically, that could be names drawn out of a hat. It doesn't really matter, but let's throw it open, guys. 2021 is on our horizon. We've got Geelong are the defending premiers. Richmond are bitter. Let's go. Nico.
You've raised a lot of questions there, Shane. Let's pick them apart. If you've got them written down, it'd be perfect because we can go back, we can backtrack over them. But let's unpack them one at a time because this is juicy. Because I think we all agree this year's been a debacle, and 2020 COVID, move on as quick as we can, hopefully for the better. But what do we want to look at first? We want to look at
number of rounds.
Yeah, all right. Two options from my menu. We either go with 34 rounds or we go with 17 rounds. So I've got my 34 rounds and people go, geez, that's a lot of footy. 34 rounds would see the format now in terms of time, but let's peel it back to 16 aside. So still 22 being picked. We've got 6 on the bench. We've got 16 aside, and we've got 34 rounds. Now you can have like the footy, what do they call it? The footy frenzy, where we've got some back-to-back games with shortened breaks. I think that is a really exciting opportunity for the AFL to explore. Option B would be 17 games as per this year, but we go back to 20 minutes plus time on, because we need players fatigued so we get some scores. That's when the junk time comes in, the red time. We're seeing scores occurring. But how are the players going to get, we're not going to earn enough money only playing 17 games. That's okay. We're going to have a State of Origin carnival. We're going to have a State of Origin carnival that's played in the middle of the year. So a little bit of a break in the middle of the year. And we're going to see a couple of high quality games with the best players playing. I think that is really a really exciting opportunity. So one of two options, gents.
Is there going to be buy-in from the players with State of Origin? They've tried it a couple of times. I think the first rollout was a lot more buy-in.
Well, I think this, if you go back to, was it 2008 when it was the Big V played the All-Stars? Is that right, Shane? 2008, 2009? Maybe even earlier when it was. Someone will help us out on the hotline, on the open line. But
anyway, keep going.
But when that occurred, you had a big crowd, and it was physical. I did see some footage tonight of it might have been Bob Murphy and Craig Bolton had a bit of I think Bolton got knocked out by Murphy. But then this year's version of State of Origin, which was for the bushfires, it wasn't really footy. It was a bit of Thursday night match sim type stuff. So I think that if it was fair income and a little bit of, like, the guys at NRL level, when they're playing State of Origin, they're getting paid. Is it 30 grand they get paid a game?
About that, I was just checking that, Nico.
Yes, yeah. It's 50, is it? Well, my word. You're going to get 50 grand for 80 minutes of work. Yes. I think the players would buy in on that, Nathan. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes and no. You think someone on $1 million a season? I know there's not too many of them, but you think somebody's higher paid. The clubs as well. You think the clubs are going to want, Dusty Martin playing a State of Origin match? I just don't. NRL State of Origin was built. The foundation of it was built on heart and absolute hatred between Queensland and New South Wales because of how the structure of NRL was set up. And New South Wales having all the plaudits, but they were filled with Queensland players. So it's very, very, very hard to emulate something that hasn't had the origins, pardon the pun, that the NRL series has. I hope it takes off. I mean, I don't know is the answer. I just question whether it can reach the pinnacle that the NRL State of Origin series has.
It's the only tick the NRL has over the AFL, in my opinion. The AFL tick every other box. So it's probably one area that the AFL might look at and say, here's a chance to get a tick. And the best thing about our game, Nathan, as opposed to the NRL, is we could see Western Australia, South Australia, Victoria, and even in other states would be saying, we're confident enough to go at it alone. I think you keep the allies situation there. So you've got WA, South Australia, Victoria, really strong sides, and then the allies as a territory, ACT, New South Wales, Queensland, Tasmania set up. That's going to be a strong side there as well. So you've got 4 states. We're going to see 2 games crossover over 2 weekends with an aggregate champion. Who knows, with the grand final after the grand, I don't know. There's possibilities galore for that. And that in itself would go, well, you've got Queensland playing New South Wales in the rugby league. Yep, it's a massive spectacle and people love it. But it hurts the NRL the weeks after that because there's it's a sugar rush, isn't it? The Origin's a sugar rush. And then you've got the rounds leading to finals. So the NRL might keep their State of Origin showpiece as it is going to be this year after the grand final. Because, the NRL confused me with their pre-Origin, during Origin, and post-Origin setup. So, yeah.
All right. So where are our 2021 hubs? Obviously, a lot of water to go under the bridge between now and then, but how are they done? How do we learn? What's worked?
There's 3 hubs. There's 3. We all know where the 3 hubs are. Western Australia, Queensland, South Australia. That's where they'll have the hubs. I think to your point of the conference idea is very interesting. So essentially, is that where you would split, I guess, the season up into 3 or 4 parts, or you'd have different?
Probably 9 teams in one conference and 9 in the other, something like that. So that you could play, say, 16 games. So you could be playing your conference twice. As to how the conference is decided, that's geographically done in the USA, the Eastern versus Western Conference. But it'd be very interesting to see how a conference system would work in Australia.
You're dealing with double the teams, though, Shane, in the States, aren't you? So the Eastern Conference in the NBA, what do you got, 20 teams in each conference?
15 and 15 or something. Yeah, they're sizable.
Yeah, 9's too small. I think that, the conference idea, and I know that the PlayStation and the gamers, and they love their American sports and buying their American kit, and they're into the hockey and we're into the basketball and all that sort of stuff, and they want to emulate all that sort of stuff, but it's just different. It's just too different. I can't see a conference system working. I think in terms of hubbing, you've got to make a call now. Nathan, you're right. Western Australia cruising, South Australia cruising, Queensland going okay. I can't see much happening in Victoria for a long time, and that's a real concern. They're all going to want to stay up here. Are players, here's one for you, are players who are out of contract going to potentially look at the Gold Coast and Brisbane as more attractive clubs to go to, particularly if you've got a young family? You want to be a little bit more settled. That could, I just thought of that on the spot then. That's not on the run sheet.
Up here, Nico. All the clubs that are here are going to be lining up pre-seasons, and I guarantee they'll be talking about Christmas.
But they should realise that we've played a bit of footy up here. We all know that in Queensland, pre-season starts in March and the season starts in April. There's too many things to do than bloody train for footy. Holy hell.
Very good.
There's me who's never missed a pre-season session for the last 20 years. Whatever. Have a look at the physique. Get around me. Sorry, Nathan. That's a little bit.
Anyway, yep.
Perfect. Shane, any other question about that, mate? I love that one.
No. Lots of questions, but I think some good ideas, good solutions.
All right. Well, look, Gil, in any trouble, mate, give us a call. So let's go into the last round of the season, kicking off Thursday. So, gents, we got North Melbourne. I shouldn't laugh. They're a competitive team versus West Coast Eagles. They're not. So North versus West Coast. I'll tell you what, though, this is at Metricon. Anyone going against West Coast?
No, not at all. But haven't North Melbourne, if we can just touch on North Melbourne, haven't they been really disappointing? They've been so disappointing, and this could be the last time you see a few. Like, they're bottoming right out. Sean Higgins might be his last game for the footy club. I know that Ben Brown's already put the cue in the rack for the year. It could be a very different North Melbourne side next year, and the wooden spoon is alive. If they lose this, there's still a sniff of the wooden spoon, which is the negative side of it, but also the number 1 draft pick if the Crows can get a win. But West Coast should win this despite their disgraceful Metricon record.
Shane?
West Coast will win. Easy.
Perfect. Shane, talk us through your boys versus the GWS Giants. Can the Giants conjure anything up? Or Saints
look, they would be rattled about what's happening with their skipper. I'm never confident going to the Gabba to watch my boys. I'm confident that we'll play well. I think it's going to be a very tough, ugly game. Ugly games at the Gabba in a night setting are always a bit of a raffle. So hopefully we play well. I'll pick them. I always pick them. Always go there. They always lose. So I might go with the GWS scarf ready to unveil.
Mate, you'll be the only one there. GWS players don't even wear their own apparel. That is a football. That is a football club with a severe identity crisis, and they're going to miss the 8 after many had them, including this one here, had them finishing very high on the ladder. So congratulations, Shane. The Saints are playing finals footy for the first time since 2020 what?
No.
Well, you are, but you can't not play finals.
Yeah, we can. We can miss it.
You'll play finals, Shane.
Okay.
So right under the Saints, one under Brett Ratton, and who would have thought that all you need to do was get out of Seaford and get to Noosa. Get out of Seaford and go to Noosa. And you play finals.
Who would have thought?
Saints to win that one, Nathan.
Beautiful. Nikki, Essendon Bombers v Melbourne. I won't be watching this.
No, and unbelievably, Melbourne can still play finals, and this is where it's been a while since you've had this conversation where people remember back in the day people used to say, "Is the top 8 too many?" Because if Melbourne play finals, it's not good. It's not good. I think that the 8 that I said will be there with Collingwood finishing 8th is about right. Essendon are a basket case. This could be, Essendon could win, Melbourne could win. You tip Melbourne just. Shane?
It's they're two pretty underperforming sides. The Connor McKenna match from all those months ago. Do you remember that announcement from?
So this is the game that was supposed to be played a few months ago.
Yeah, this is the big game that threatened the game, threatened the season itself. So, Demons are a better side. Essendon are a basket case. I agree. And I think they've got a traumatic trade period coming up for the Bombers. I don't think they're a club of choice and destination of choice. And I think the D's will put themselves in the calculations for the 8.
Who else is Johnny Worsfold going to slam on the way out the door there? Who was a bigger disappointment? Malthouse at Carlton or Worsfold at Essendon? That's a whole episode we could go into on that
next week.
The whole episode. But he's not missing anyone on the way out the door. Is the pharmacist Johnny Worsfold.
Moving on, Adelaide, they are flying, but Richmond will comfortably do them in. I back Demons as well, boys. But gents, anyone got Adelaide against Richmond?
No, but I think that they should be proud of the way they've finished the year off. They should be really proud. And Matty Nick's got a couple of wins. They just seem happy, don't they? They seem like a really happy group, and that they take that momentum into 2021. They'll still be no good next year, but there's talks that they're going to be the first team to not win a game and all this sort of stuff. And they acquit themselves well against Richmond, and Richmond are a little bit nappish. They could jump off the bottom. I'm not sure if they want to because the number 1 draft pick, Yeah, Tigers for me.
Yeah, Tigers just. The Crows are showing some real spunk. So exciting to see them, particularly the young blokes. They're coming through at a rate of not similar to Freo. Freo are a lot more advanced, but the Crows last couple of weeks have been pretty up and about. So it's exciting to watch.
Moving forward to the Gabba, we've got the Lions versus Carlton. This is an interesting one. I've got the Lions. They're at home, but they're the type of team, I think they just need a little bit of a tweak upstairs. They could drop this. This is a bit of a danger game for the Lions, I reckon, but I'll tip them. Nick?
Yeah, they weren't convincing against the Swans, were they? It took them to the last 5 minutes to shake Sydney off up in Cairns. And wasn't it it was so dewy up in Cairns as well, wasn't it?
Mm.
And I just think the AFL, Kane Corns was right about the spectacle of the grand final is going to revive with the humidity, the dewiness, and that sort of gear. Cade Simpson's last game of football for the Carlton Football Club now, 300 plus games. They're calling him a champion of the club. 300 plus games, a great servant, and fortunate to have lasted as long in the system as he has. I'm not shooting Bambi at all here, but I think he's the most losingest player in the history of the game, boys. So let's see if he gets to sing the Carlton theme song for maybe the 100th time in his 300 games career. That's scary, isn't it? Brisbane, he won't sing it again.
Is this the last time we'll see Eduardo Betts?
No. Eddie will go again. And I think the fact that all the talks, Cade coming out and retiring, it would have been a dual announcement. That's all I'm saying. Eddie goes on. That would have been a dual announcement. They've just announced Cade. Eddie plays on.
I'm not ready to have life without Eddie yet. Give me 12 months to just get used to it, I think.
It's a fair point. We love watching him play. And also Tom Papley staying in Sydney. If Tom Papley was headed down there, that might have been the curtains for him. Eddie to go again.
Shane, who you tipping, mate?
Lions, just they're not they're not winning games convincingly at the moment. I don't know if they're keeping the powder dry. I don't think they are. I don't think they have enough quality to really threaten, but they'll win ugly.
All right. Hawks versus my boys, Hawthorn. It's going to be a long postseason for the Hawks. A lot of video analysis from the coaching staff, you'd think. Mate, I'm going to tip Suns against Hawthorn, and I'm going to tip them confidently. Shane, who's going to win this one?
This is going to be absolutely awful football. I'm sorry that.
Whoa!
Hey, you've got to understand where you're at. You've got to understand the second half of the season. I'd like to see a ladder because you guys have fallen apart again. Guys, don't come back to pre-season until January. You're young, hit it fucking bigger, but at the moment you're starting the season well and you're dropping off a pedestal again. It's just insane. Hawks to do you guys by 5+.
Well, the only thing that gives me any hope for Hawthorn is the fact that sentiment. You've got the skipper Stratton and little Paul Piopolo playing their last game of footy. Maybe Piopolo, I think it mightn't be his last game. I'm going to give you a scoop there. I think that he might pop up at another club.
Oh, nice.
And that's a mail for you guys there. But I want to say Ben Stratton, 3-time premiership player or 4? 3? I think. I reckon he got 3. I don't think he was. Yeah, I want to say 3. But Ben Stratton's biggest claim to fame in my books is he celebrated with Delta Goodrum after one of the premierships, and for that reason, Ben Stratton. Cheers to you. Gold Coast Suns to win, but Ben Stratton will always be a winner, boys. You know that now, don't you? Fair dinkum.
That was the old bedroom sessions, was it? So we got Sydney.
Bunker down. Come on, Nathan. Bunker down.
Is it bunker? Sorry. Bunker down. Let me write that down. Bunker.
Yes.
It's a shame. Shane. Sydney versus Geelong.
Cats, not by much, but they'll get through.
Geelong comfortably.
Yeah, I don't know about not by much, mate.
No,
I got them 6 goals.
What are you talking about?
Tommy Hawkins to sew up the Coleman medal.
Nice. All right, Nico. Freo versus Western Bulldogs.
Yeah, look.
Interesting one.
I've enjoyed Fremantle's the body of work that they've put together this year, but the Doggies are my only hope. Bottom 4 of the 8 to chance their arms. So I think the Doggies will win this, and they'll charge into the latter part of September, full of excitement about what the next month can bring for them. The Woofers for me.
Shane.
I agree. They have got a lot of quality across the field. They can really threaten in late October.
I agree. Nick, talk us through some, mate. Collingwood v Port Adelaide. Pretty important game here, you'd say. So what can your boys bring to the table versus Port?
Well, the last time there was a Monday night game at the Gabba was 2 nights ago, and I actually stepped out into my backyard and put my hand outside to see if it was raining. It was disgracefully disgusting conditions, and that's what we're going to be copying next Monday and for every subsequent night match at the Gabba, because it's humid, it's hot, the players sweat, the ball is yellow, it's got a paint coating on it, it becomes like a bar of soap. We see players kicking the ball atrociously. That's just the prelude to me saying Port Adelaide should win this and secure the minor premiership. But with the Pies, they might get one more back. Steel Sidebottom won't be one of those, but he might be heading to Darwin, boys, to quarantine before coming back for a finals match. But that will all be to no fruition if we finish 8th and West Coast finish 5th, because he won't be allowed into Perth. So Port Adelaide, in short.
Shane.
Pies. They are. I think they're going to strike. I think they're going to strike.
Okay.
It's going to be ugly. It's going to be 35-33. It'll be tough and rough and tumble, but I think you guys will get the job done. You've got a little bit of class coming back.
Haven't been convincing since March, Nathan, before you cast your tip here. Collingwood have not looked convincing since we beat the Dogs in round 1.
I didn't need that bit of information to sway me any which way. I'm still going to tip the Pies, mate.
You hate Port Adelaide.
He really does. He hates,
as I said,
power.
Port Adelaide, mate. I tell you what, they will be a great team in 2 years. Right now, they're just a team that happens to find themselves on top of the ladder for some unknown reason. But mate, if it's scrappy, I think the Pies have enough there. I don't think Port Adelaide. How did someone so eloquently phrase it? You said describing Port Adelaide's play at the ball.
They lack grunt.
They lack grunt.
Yeah.
With a G.
You know who else lacks grunt? Whoever said that statement. What they meant to say is they're soft at the football.
Oh, I thought you were. Wow, I thought you were.
I didn't.
Wow.
Hey,
No,
this is
no, I didn't say that, but that's what
This
that
is
gentleman.
PG.
Yeah, no. Anyway, gents, the last segment of this evening, we've got our short pass. Short pass brought to you this week by Curtin Trend. So Curtin Trend, they're in the Gold Coast. So if you find yourself in Brisbane and the Gold Coast, give them a call, Curtin Trend, for all your window furnishing needs. But gentlemen, your short pass this week. Shane, brother, you fantastic looking human. What are you sending your short pass?
Yes, we're finishing with a real bite. And I really like Plate of Origin. I'm really into it. I think Manu and Gary and Matt, they've got some really delicious chemistry. Very camp, loading up in the camp. They're hugging and they're smiling. There's winks. Some really sexy chemistry amongst those three men. But keep it up. Can't wait for the next season.
Nico.
My short pass goes to a Bayside community this week out at Victoria Point. It's a very special week for a contingent of young men that I've been very close to for the last 6 years. And let's hope that on Saturday, everyone acquits themselves and brings their best. That's all you can ask. And come 4:30 Saturday afternoon, there's a couple of flags to take back to the Bayside. So I think there's a couple of lads that listen into this. So let's be up and about on Saturday, boys. Nathan, your short pass.
Amen. My short pass is going to my brother out in Perth. I think he's feeling a little bit alone, has done for a little while. So love you, mate. Thinking of you. And ladies and gents, let's wrap it up. We'll see you back here next Wednesday, 8 p.m. on Up and About Podcast.